Hello, everyone, and welcome to our AI 101 for educators, transforming the future of teaching and learning. My name is Dr. Ansuz Charleston, or Dr. Charleston, and today I have the pleasure to have Mrs. Claire Ponbois with me. Ms.
Good
Claire?
morning, everyone. Happy to be here. Happy to be with you all this early morning.
All right, so to get started, we're going to have Miss Claire share a little bit about her, and then after that, I will take on.
All right. So my name is Claire Ponbois. I am an art educator. I have been teaching art from pre-K to grade 12 for 7 years now. Originally came into the world of art and design through interior design. And my passion for teaching students, preparing them for their future visual arts career has flourished year after year after year. And now having the powerful tool of AI embedded into my practices has brought me to this additional passion of merging technology and education and bringing it to the young kids, preparing them for the world in the future.
All right, thank you, Miss Claire. Again, my name is Dr. Anne-Suze Charleston, or Dr. Anne, or Dr. Charleston. Well, for me, education has been a passion for me for the past, I'll say 20 years. So I've been teaching, math and then computer for the past 19 years. And this year has been the only year, my first year really not been in the classroom. However, the fact that I'm not in the classroom, I still have the opportunity to interact with teachers, to really dive into the technology and show teachers how they can use the technology to really enhance their teaching and learning, for them to really get the students to be engaged in the learning. And you don't go to a classroom where students are sitting in rows and only paper and pencil, but students have the ability to really dive into the research, dive into the gaming, dive into personalized learning, to really get them to be engaged and motivated in the learning. Because at the end of the day, we are here to really support the students. And over the past couple of years, one of the beauty with the AI tools that I've seen is how the teachers have saved so much time when it comes to planning, creating assessment, grading. So the AI tools have really revolutionized the way that education is happening. And we are happy to be here with you this morning. We are excited. In this session, we will explore how AI can really enhance the teaching and learning. And our goal is to really help you understand, the potential that AI has, its practical application and education, and how to use it responsibly. It's important that students, even us as educators, know how to effectively use the AI to really help us in our educational journey. So by the end of this webinar, you'll have a better understanding on different type of AI tools, strategies that you can really use, to effectively use AI, and insight on how we can support both educators and students. So let's get started. Before anything, a disclaimer. The tools that we are going to see are ones that we've utilized. Okay, we've been able to find it very useful, to really support teachers as well as students. We are not sponsored by any of the companies behind these tools, okay? Different tools that we're going to see are based on experiences alone, all right?
All right, before we dive in, let's set some expectations to make this a meaningful experience. First and foremost, engagement and participation. We really hope to hear from you, get questions from you. Feel free to ask questions and interact with us throughout this webinar. And we are openness to learning. That is our number one goal with this webinar and those that are set to come in the sessions, in the previous sessions. Now, we really want for you to involve AI into your practices. AI is constantly evolving, okay? And it's going at a very quick rate. So let's explore its potential together. As educators, it's important for us to communicate with one another and speak about our personal experiences so that way we can help each other out, because we're doing this for the betterment of all of our students. Sharing and collaboration. Your insights and experiences are just as valuable as every other person's here. So please feel free again to share your experiences, whether they be good and bad or bad, so that way we can provide you maybe some tips and tricks maybe on how to improve your use and your experience with AI in the classroom. The application and reflection. Think about how AI can enhance your teaching practices. Okay, this is what our main goal is in our introductory session today. So now let's begin our journey into AI in education.
All right, so today is the first of a 3 series of webinars that we are going to do over the next few months. So today we're going to focus on the AI 101 for educators, where we're again learning how the AI tools can really transform our teaching and learning practices. March 8th is Action in AI, how you can boost your learning, really find ways to use the AI to engage students, and also even school operation, administrators. How can administrators really use the AI tools to help them with administrative tasks, to really give them time to really go inside of the classroom and see what's happening and be well engaged with the students. On April 5th, we will do the last one, which focus on AI-powered education, smarter planning, personalized learning, as well as efficient administration. So all those AI webinars will be held on Saturdays, early in the morning. You can bring your coffee, relax. As Miss Claire mentioned earlier, this is an opportunity for us to come together to really share our experiences, good or bad, because again, from the bad, we learn from them so that we can really support our students. And they will be held between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So our agenda for today, the first part, of course, is the introduction, which we've gone over. So the second part, we're gonna go over the overview of AI in education, the different practical applications, so how to utilize the AI. And we're gonna have an opportunity to see different AI tools, how you can utilize them in your classroom and as well as doing administrative tasks. The last two sections of the session is focused on QA, where you have an opportunity to ask questions, and then we'll wrap up our session for today. All right, so what is the objective? What is the purpose of us being here this morning? The whole purpose of this sessions is to learn how the AI can enhance, can help it improve your teaching and learning. That's it. Okay. Again, as we are moving forward with education, and as we could see nowadays, AI is all over. Different tools have been created, different tools have been implemented, different companies. So this is the time for us to really get on the wagon so that we don't fall behind when it comes to teaching the students how to effectively use the tools to really enhance their learning, and for us as educators to really enhance our teaching and practices. Now, the big question of the day, well, what is AI, right? So AI, or we could say artificial intelligence, really it's the way that the computer system is designed to perform certain tasks that human was required to do, right? So it requires, of course, a human intelligence. So who creates the AI? Human, we did. We create the AI. So it is people like us who have the knowledge, who have the comprehension to figure out how they can create a system or computerized system to really help us as human to problem solve, to recognize different patterns, to understand language, and make certain decisions and alleviate certain tasks from us. So that's basically what AI is, right? So when it comes to the key concepts of AI, there are 3 key concepts or terminologies that you definitely need to pay attention to as you are understanding or getting a grasp of AI. So the first one is machine learning. Machine learning is basically like Netflix, right? So if you have a Netflix account, Netflix always recommends different shows for you based on your viewing history. That's what the machine learning is. So it learns your pattern. So it helps improve over time by learning from data. So let's say if you constantly watch action movies, so whenever you go back on Netflix, most of your recommendations is going to be on action movies. So that's what machine learnings are. The second one is NLP, which is the natural language processing. So the natural language processing, it's basically different AIs that understands and processes human language. For example, on your phone, right? You have Siri on your phone and you have Alexa at home. They respond when you speak to them. The NLP, they respond based on the command that you as a human give them. And of course, the last one is generative AI or Gen AI. It's AI that creates new content based on your input prompts. Based on what you give, it gives you the output. So example like ChatGPT, Gemini, Dolly. So all of those different chatbots are Gen AI. So our focus really is going to be on the Gen AI to see how we can utilize the Gen AI to really support us in our educational journeys. There are benefits of AI in education. There's a lot of benefits, but today we're going to focus on 5 key benefits. The first one is time saving automation. How many of you want to get 2 or 3 hours of your time back when it comes to lesson planning, when it comes to creating tests, when it comes to grading? We want our time back, right? We want to be able to focus on the teaching, how we can get the students to be very engaged in the learning. Well, AI is able to help us to do that. So AI automates tasks like grading. So it can help you create rubric to grade. It helps when it comes to lesson planning. In 2 minutes, you're able to create a lesson plan, or sometimes in 1 minute. As long as you prompt well, and we're gonna touch based on that later on, it will be able to give you a lesson plan within 1 minute. Administrative work, it allows you as teachers or as educators to really focus on the instruction, to really focus on what's important in education. The second one is personalized learning. Now, with the personalized learning tools, it's basically different AIs that adapts to individual students' needs. It really provides a customized resources and targeted feedback. So when a student's taking an assessment, so for example, we at our school, we use the NWAE map. So when the students take the map, what the system does, it adapts to where they are. So it's a growth basically assessment. So it adapts to their learning. So you can use the AI tool to create individualized learning or personalized learning for students based on where they are so that you can track them over time to see their progress. The third one, it's enhanced student engagement. How many of us sometimes we are in a classroom, you create a beautiful lesson plan. You are teaching and the students, some of them are sleeping, put their heads down on the table. They are not engaged at all. With the tech tools, we really can get the students to be engaged, to take ownership of their learning. So with the interactive AI tools, such as gamification, chatbots, your classroom can be alive, your classroom can be engaged, and students would want to come to your class because they could see the different action that's taking place and they are learning because they are taking the ownership to learn on their own with those AI tools. The fourth one is data-driven insights. Everything you do has to be based on data. So with the AI tools, the AI can analyze students' performance data to really help you to guide students and really make informed decisions about your instructions and different type of interventions that can be done, even where you can really create different type of reinforcement for students who are performing well and those who need that extra boost to really get them to where they need to get within their education. And accessibility support. especially for students who are, let's say, who are ESL students, who needs to be able to hear different type of text. Well, the AI tools are able to do that for you. So it assists students with, disabilities through speech to text, text to speech, and other assistive technologies where the students really, depending on their learning disabilities, to really get them to be in the learning. Because a lot of times some of these students unfortunately are left behind because we feel like, okay, they are holding the classroom instruction back. With the AI tools, we really can get those students to really fully understand what's happening inside of the classroom, so that they can be engaged with their peers in the learning.
All right. Now, while AI has many advantages, just like Dr. Charleston just mentioned, it also comes with ethical concerns. Okay, we as educators, we must be aware of the issues that are at hand, such as transparency. Okay, we have to have an understanding on how AI decisions are made. Okay, it's very important for us to make sure that we understand all of this and we use it properly. Accountability. We need to make sure who is responsible for the AI driven outcomes. We are the ones that are responsible, right? So just like we were saying earlier, the proper prompting is key to properly using generative AI. So after the prompt is generated, you are the one that is responsible for the reviewing of it as well before you apply it and before you share the information and you use the technology within the classroom with your students. Student equity, ensuring that the AI does not widen the achievement gap. Yes, there are ways that you can use the data that you have, that you see within your classroom, and have the Gen AI give you differentiated strategies, but it's still up to you as the human to really have that physical contact, right? The generative AI is only there to give you the information. Now, you are still responsible to make sure that all of your students have the equity. Everyone has the same opportunities and access to the same resources at their level. We all know that students learn differently. We all do, even as adults, right? So it's very important that once we have that information from the Gen AI, we are the ones that have to make sure that we keep all of our students together and learning and growing together, and we're not creating a bigger gap in between those that learn differently. The last one, data privacy. Protecting sensitive data information when using AI tools is extremely, extremely important. It's very easy to go into any of these Gen AI, for example, the most popular one that I think everyone knows about, ChatGPT, right? Very easy, accessible, even on your phone. You can quickly go on it, ChatGPT, and you ask it to write an email to a parent. But because sometimes you get either your emotions involved or you just are feeling very comfortable, you have to be very careful not to share the sensitive information, such as people's private names, right? You have to be, in a way, giving the information still in a subjective manner. For example, I can say, write an email to a parent from a concerned art teacher about an 8th grade student. I'm not going to say, write an email to Mr. and Mrs. Johnson about little Jimmy from Miss Claire. Because what's going to happen when you say these private information? All of that stays in the database and it is public. These are free generative AI platforms. So this also means that this information, in a way, does not belong to you, right? It is on the internet. You are putting the prompt out there. So the prompt is going to remain on the internet for people to have access to as well. So you have to be very careful. This comes into digital citizenship, right? You need to make sure that you as a teacher have to be very conscious of sensitive student information. Okay, and not just student information, even school information, right? You do not want to be sharing information about your district or other colleagues, any of those private things that are very specific, we're not going to use them within our prompting. Okay, so it's very essential for schools to develop policies within themselves and guidelines on using the AI and the needs to incorporate ethical considerations. That kind of follows up with our AI bias and hallucination. AI models can inherit biases from the data that they are trained on. So just like I was saying, and the way Ms. Charleston was describing Netflix, it's a perfect way, right? These are machines. We created the machine in order to help us do things faster and, in a sense, I don't want to use the word better, but a little bit more evolved. So if you are putting sensitive information out there, the computer itself too, the system can also create information that is biased, right? So when you're using things such as brisk teaching to have it generate feedback for you, you need to make sure that the platform is not giving you information that is very biased. So again, you are also responsible for checking what the responses of your prompts are. So leading to unintended consequences, again, such as possibly giving you inaccurate grades or unfair grading, inaccurate recommendations for that particular student or to a parent. So we need to make sure that in the classroom, in our administrative work, it's very essential for us to evaluate the AI generated content before using it in the classroom. So again, this is a machine, but we are the ones driving it. It's just like a car. It's there to help us move from one place to the next, but we are the ones in charge. So we are the ones that have to be very conscious about everything that we share. We're not going to have chat created and we share it without having a review done and sharing it to anyone. So that way we ensure there's accurate responses. Okay, student data privacy. This is where we're talking about using AI tools and making sure, again, we use it ethically and we're keeping our students' information private. Okay, when you go to college, you're finished with college and you're going to apply for a job, they ask you for your transcript. But the transcript is very private. Even you, when you receive it in the mail, it is sealed. You are not supposed to open it. It goes directly to the final end user. So this is in the context that you have to think of Gen AI. You are taking your students' private information and you are trying to make sure that it stays private, and you just make sure that you are authorizing the proper information so you can get the important disclosures to send out to the world and to the students in your classroom. Okay, what is student data privacy about? It's all about the responsible collection, the use, the sharing, and the protection of our students' data. So whether that be their grades, their personal information, like their name, their age, their race, again, this is all private, sensitive data, and it's about the right of individuals to control how their personal information is collected and used. So it's about upholding principles of fairness, transparency, and accountability. Now, ethical use means using information, resources, our technology in a way that is responsible and, again, fair to everyone. It involves giving credit to others. For example, we know that we're not being sponsored here. So this is all information that we're sharing based off of our own personal experiences in the classroom, in the boardrooms with administrators, and also on one-on-one contact with students and parents. Okay, it involves giving credit to others, using evidence to support your work. Okay, that data, all of that information you're collecting, whether it be qualitative data or quantitative data, all of it is important. Ethical use of information, crediting sources, using evidence and following copyright laws. Make sure that if you are using resources to generate your own, for example, classroom worksheets or things like that, make sure that you also have the prompt specify that you are referencing another company or you're referencing another teacher, to make sure that you yourself are not also breaking any type of copyright infringement. Okay, always verify the AI tools with school policies and data protection regulations to ensure safe and responsible usage. If you're not sure, ask, ask, ask. Never assume. Okay, so if you cannot find this information right off the bat through the websites, go to your administration. Tell them this is what you're finding and this is what you want to do. Is it still within the school protocol and the school policies? Is it okay for you to do X, Y, and Z prior to you doing any of these things? Because you do not want to be caught in a position where you yourself now are putting your job and your career as well as someone else's information at stake. We do not want that. So make sure that you ask, okay? If you're not sure, always ask. It's better to ask than to just assume and jump in. We're not going to ask for forgiveness for this later. We're going to ask before we do it.
And it's just like what we teach our students, right? Whenever they write a paper or research, they need to learn to cite it. They need to learn to make sure that they put the source. Where did they get that information from? Right? So when we are teaching, providing this information for us as educators, we need to think about that as well. So it's important that when it comes to the ethical use, we are doing it, and as well as the students, because we have to practice what we preach. Right? Yeah. So it's important that we make sure that the students knows how to, and you as educators, that's why we are providing this information to you, so that you can keep that in the back of your mind to understand that the information that we are getting on those AI tools, they are from different sources, right? It's a data pool that's out there, and then those informations, those AI tools, those systems are getting those information and giving it to you. So it's not your own. It's not something that you created. So it's important that where we are getting the information from, we give credit. We give credit. All right. And the second aspect, the other aspects of the AI is to understand the practical application of the AI when it comes to our field, the education, right? So we know both personal and experiences for students and parents, they are great, 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 great tools. The first one, of course, is learn how the AI can enhance teaching and learning. How can it use it, right? AI can save us so much time when we are using it to really assist us with our lesson plan. They can help us generate outlines, provide different activities that we can utilize, that we can use with our students, and even provide simple assessments based on the curriculum that we have and based on our standards, right? Because we know different states use different standards. For example, I teach math. Where we are here, we use Common Core state standards. So if I'm using Common Core state standards, I can really specify that standards within the prompt that I'm going to use, so that the system can go and do its little, its search and provide the information that I need, right? It also helps when it comes to grading. The AI-powered grading tools can really help, automate assessment. So having a rubric, you give that rubric to the system and you provide that assessment. Now, as we are putting those assessments on those tools, make sure the students' names are not on those work. Make sure the students' name are not given to the AI tools. So you can put student 1. So instead of having Miss Claire or Claire Ponbois, put student 1, student 2, student 3. So remove the student's name before upload that document into those platforms. And it also gives teachers more time to focus on instruction. Yeah. Because we know as teachers and educators, most of our time is spent on what? planning, creating tests, administrative work. But with those AI tools, we can get those hours back. So instead of us going to sleep at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, trying to plan for the next day, once we get home, take care of our families, within 5 minutes, you can plan your lesson. You can plan the activities. Of course, you have to review it, but it will give you at least 2 to 3 hours back when it comes to your time, because nowadays, your family is important. After you leave work, it's important for you to take time to really spend with your family. So how can you save that? These tools have create that opportunity for you to get those hours back. So AI can be also used for personalized learning. It really enables you to create that experience for students where it will adapt to their individual needs, and it helps them with tutoring. So using those tools, the students don't have to, if they did not understand a lesson, they could use those tools to really guide them and provide them with extra practices, provide them with videos where it will really provide them the support feedback that they need to help them progress on their own. Now the students will be able to really take ownership, because at the end of the day, the students need to take ownership of their learning. So with those tools and personalized learning, AI can do that for you. And AI for administrative tasks. Okay, AI can also support us as educators by handling administrative work, such as, scheduling. When it comes to email responses, in 1 minute you're able to respond back to your email, to whomever, parents, other teachers, or another company that's emailing you, or students. Summarize data for you. Let's say you have a class of, let's say, 25 and 25 students, plus you teach just a 5 or 6 periods, right? So if you multiply that, that's a lot of assignments to grade. So now you want to figure out, okay, you know what, how can I automate my time to really get a preview, a feedback from this tool to guide me, to really support me when it comes to grading those assessments. Now, as you're getting the feedback from those tools, it's important to do that last review. You don't have to sit down and really go into so much details as you've done in the past. With the tools, it already gives you the preliminary grade, right? So now, as a teacher, you can take a couple of minutes where you would spend 10 or 15 minutes on grading that one paper, right? You can take 1 or 2 minutes to go back and just review the grading that the system gives you. So again, it gives you that administrative, those administrative tasks. You'll be able to really alleviate your time to really be efficient, be effective teacher as you move on in your educational journey. It can enhance students' engagement, really provide interactive learning. When it comes to, whether if it's gaming, the chat box that they can use, for tutoring, and provide additional support outside of the classroom time, right? For example, I know Miss Claire here has some experience that she can share on how she's be able to, how she has used the tools to really support her students.
Oh, yes. So for me, as I said in the beginning, I'm an art educator, but this is, I would say, my second career in my life because I went to school for interior design and I worked in the interior design and architectural field for 8, almost 9 years before, actually, that's 10 years if I do more math, before actually coming into the education world. Now, there's a lot about education that I think we inherently, as people know, especially we're adaptive learners, right? We use all of our 5 senses to learn. So teaching, in a way, I realized very quickly, I was like, oh, well, I'm not a teacher, so I don't know how to teach this. But our verse content, you go to get yours for like in-person schools, the minute you're in the classroom and you have that background knowledge, Now it's putting it all into play, putting your hands into it. I myself, I teach my classes the way that I feel comfortable learning information as well. I'm a very tactile learner. I like to teach walking around. I cannot stay sitting down. So I love implementing games or whether it be content or skill-based learning, okay? Involving things that are more interactive and using all of the five senses, like I said, aside from just lecture, 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 right? Students will learn better if they really use a whole body consciousness, right? It's not just visual, it's not just auditory. They need to feel it, right? With their hands, they need to feel it with everything all around them. So I myself, I also teach aside from art, I also teach art humanities to middle school. And I was having trouble getting students to really retain the information. When it's happening in class, the content is being taught, they're able to recall. But then the next day or the week after, they were not able to retain that information and apply it and connect it to real world experiences, or even connect the dots with other content such as social studies or science or math. For them, they're like, well, we're in art class. Why are you telling me how to do the math? Learning is learning. It does not matter which classroom you are sitting in, whether you're with Miss Charleston doing math, whether you're with Miss Smith doing English, it does not matter. Everything is interconnected. Okay. So I was realizing that my students were not getting that connection. And again, middle schoolers, so very hyper active bodies, very physical people. And I said, let me plan a game day. And I was able to use the Gen AI to create a taboo game based off of the content that I was teaching. Now, for those of you that may know, taboo is a game where you're not allowed to say specific words in order for your team or your classmate to generate or give you the proper word. So I was at the time teaching a unit about art of ancient Egypt. So we're looking at the pyramids, we're looking at all of the jewelry and all of the other architecture that was made during this time. And again, the kids were able to memorize the vocabulary. They're able to know the information. But the minute that you were started to kind of ask them how to connect the dots, that is where the trouble lies. So I decided to use the generative AI and have it create a taboo game for me based off of my information. So you are able to, as a teacher, upload your resources. Okay. So this is where the key thing is for me that I realize. Gen AI isn't just, it's going to tell you how to teach. You are not, it's not going to replace you as a teacher. You are still the teacher physically in the classroom. You're just using this as a secondary resources, like Ms. Charleston says, to help you save time and to make the classroom, the learning more engaging. So that way the students get it more in depth. So providing the AI my PDF that I created from the content from the textbooks and the worksheets that we have at school, I gave it the information about the content and I said, create a taboo game for middle schoolers learning art humanities based off of this presentation. And within less than 5 minutes, I had an entire game already done. Now, this doesn't mean I couldn't have done it. I definitely could have done it. But how long would it have taken me to go through my presentation and say, okay, pyramid. So I'm going to say pyramids of Giza. What are the words they cannot say? It would have taken me hours to do this because my presentation was already 20 slides. In order for me to go through each slide, find the key word, discover what are the 4 other vocab words they cannot say, then also write up the instructions of the game, then also come up with the tips and tricks. It would have taken me hours. Gen AI created the game for me within less than 5 minutes, including the rubric to grade the students in order to evaluate them, and even how to teach and instruct the game to the students. So It is truly remarkable. And this was one of my most interactive classes that I had to date. And my students still talk about it. They still ask, when are we going to play this game again? We need to do this again. So, and they know that it's based off of what they learned with me. So now, because they know I did that with them, they don't know when the next one's coming up. So now they're trying to be a little bit more intuitive and more intentional in their learning. Okay, she's evaluating us on, now we're on this new unit. So I need to make sure I really understand this and grasp it. So that way, the next time I play this game, I want to win. We are all very competitive as human beings. We have that competitiveness within us naturally. We want to be the winners. We want to excel. We want to be the best version of ourselves. Even the most I would say doubtful and negative mindseted person, you still have that in you where you want to be better. So implementing more interactive instruction really, really helps create an amazing environment in your classroom. And we know as people, your environment sets the tone for how you learn. Okay, you know you're gonna go into that classroom. Oh, she's just gonna make us sit there and we have to look at the board and listen to her talk. It's not enough. It's not enough. The kids need to move around, they need to socialize with one another, all within boundaries and limits, of course. But having Gen AI do the, I would say, kind of like the dirty work for you, all of the boring, long tediousness of the work for you, and you now are just in the classroom. Now you're really just teaching, and more so than just teaching, you are guiding your students to learn. So you are giving them more responsibility and accountability for their learning, and now you also have more time to give one-on-one interaction to those that need more one-on-one within your differentiated strategies. You have that flexibility to do smaller group settings. How many of us have walked into a classroom with our lesson plan and only 3 students got it right off the bat, and then you got to reteach, but now those students that already got it are sitting there waiting for you and they're not moving? So why do that to your students? Why penalize those that get it quickly and can't move forward, and then also penalize those that are in the middle that can catch up on their own because you're focusing on one group? Or the reverse may happen where you're focusing on those that really get it and you forget about those that are not catching the content and are not growing and they're not evolving. And there comes into play the widening of the gap. Using AI to save your time, and I would say sanity as well, because let's be honest, we get very frustrated in the tedious learning and the handwritten feedbacks, whether they be to students, data collection to give to administration. That takes time. It takes time during our prep time, during our lunchtime, after school hours. Save yourself the time and the sanity by using these tools to make your class more engaging, inviting, and ensuring that all students are growing. This has truly changed the way, or I would say evolved the way that my students are learning. I'm still teaching the same content. I'm still the same teacher that they knew, but now I have even more time to give them, more physical one-on-one time. I have more of me to give to my students because I have used Gen AI to create quick worksheets for me, to create these games for my students. And it's truly a blessing. And I open the doors for you all to use this in your classrooms.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you, Miss Claire, for these amazing examples. Again, throughout this series, you will hear how these tools have really saved us so much time. And even, many of us sometimes our lunch period tends to be the time that you even working, trying to plan, but you can get your lunch period back. You can get your lunch period back. You can get your prep time, those time that you really need to really work with the students, you can get those back. by using those tools. And as Claire mentioned earlier, as she was using the Gen AI, those tools to really get the game, one of the key concepts that she spoke about is prompting, right? So it's important to learn how to prompt. Prompting is essential. Prompting is essential. So we're going to have Miss Claire talk to us a little bit about the effective prompting strategies on how to really use the system in a way that the system can give us exactly what we need to support the students.
All right. So I would put this also with another analogy where when you give your students an assignment and you have them go research something, many times we've seen something into Google and they don't get the information that they need. You need to be very specific in what you are asking it for. Yes, it is a computer. Yes, it is a smart machine. Yes, it will generate information. But the same way it's very smart, it is also completely oblivious to what you want unless you are extremely specific and clear about what you are looking for. The computer cannot read your mind. So effective prompting strategies are very important. To get the best results from AI tools, use clear and specific prompts. For example, instead of saying, give me a lesson plan, try saying, create a 30-minute interactive lesson plan on fractions for fifth graders, including 2 hands-on activities. The more details you provide to the computer, the better the AI's response will be. Okay, to get the best results from AI tools, use clear and specific prompts. It's just like when we as teachers are creating SMART goals, right? It needs to be specific. It needs to be measurable. It needs to be reasonable. It needs to be town bound. It needs to be, all of these action plans are important. It's the same as when you're prompting something. So you need to give examples. Don't be very vague with it. Don't say things like, give me a lesson plan. You're telling it to be specific. You're giving the time, right? That's measurable. You're telling the computer, you're telling the Gen AI, your classroom, you have 30 minutes of instructional time. You need a lesson plan for 30 minutes. Which grade are you using? If you don't tell it what grade, it can give you something that's college level, but you're teaching 3rd grade. So you need to say which grade, what content is it, right? Is it math? Is it science? Is it English? Now that you know that, what exactly is the lesson on? What about math? Is it about division? Is it about fractions? Include an engaging warm-up as well. That can direct instruction, practice activities, and an exit ticket. If you put all of that information in there, you will get your entire 60-minute lesson plan from beginning to end, as well as your text, like the part where you're supposed to say. It'll give you your 5-minute warm up. It'll say, now have the students break into teams. It will direct you from beginning to end. Use role-based prompting, such as act as an experienced math teacher and create a differentiated activity for grade 7 classroom with mixed ability on linear equations. How many of us have classrooms where it may be, in our school, we use the terminologies like mainstream and learning center, but you might have a classroom that you have 1 or 2 students that have an IEP or that have a 405. So again, the more specific you are about your classroom setting and the population within your classroom, the Gen AI can not only give you the lesson plan, but even some generative differentiated activities for those students. Okay, so that is very important to keep in mind. Provide content AI performs better when it understands your situation. So for another example, I am an assistant principal at a K-12 school, and I need a professional email to parents about an upcoming curriculum night, as opposed to saying, create an email to go out to parents. You need to be very specific. What is the event about? What is your population or your setting? You saying that it's a K-12 school will provide more information that's general to that entire age group as opposed to specifying just one person and eliminating the rest of the categories. Set constraints, okay, such as format, the length, and the tone. You can definitely tell Gen AI to write something for you, and you need to also be very descriptive in the tone that you want it to come out of. You can even have it rewrite something that you already have written, but you want it to be maybe in a friendlier tone or in a more administrative tone. So you can write your email the way you already had written and say, rewrite this email from assistant's point of view in a friendlier tone. So it'll rewrite what you already have said. Another example, write a 3-paragraph persuasive email in a professional tone, encouraging parents to attend the curriculum night. So again, if you were writing it, maybe it would be a little bit too personal and in a way, a little bit biased. So you can have the Gen AI create information for you in a more non-biased format than if you were writing it yourself. But again, you have to be very specific in what you are saying. The constraints and the specificity of what you put in there are extremely important. And it really sets the tone. And you will see you will get more accurate responses as opposed to having something very vague as your prompt.
And in addition to that, to Claire, is even when you write, sometimes you receive a nasty email from a parent, right? You really want to be nasty back.
The emotions get into play.
In the moment, the emotion is just like, oh, did she really, did he really said that, right? And you write in the, in the moment, you write. Before you press that send button,
yes,
you could have your assistant. That's what I call the AI tools. It's your assistant, right? Or you can, if you do not have your bestie, your coworker next to you to be able to help you, right? You can have your assistant. Hey, put it on there, review. And ask, does it sound professional? Or you could say, you know what? Review it and make it sound more professional, right? Yes. And it will be able to do that for you. And that is the beauty of using those AI tools. As I said, it has become an assistant for you to really support you in your educational journeys. So, and of course, we are looking at, there are so many different tools that are out there. Again, this is just a small fraction of the amount of tools that are out there, right? When we're looking at some of the, specific that, we have really utilized in our classroom, for example, ChatGPT. I know many of us use ChatGPT, right? It can assist with lesson planning and content creation. You have Magic School AI is one that I know many of our teachers use when it comes to give you really, I could say, really in-depth lesson planning and resource generation. It can generate different type of resource for you, curriculum maps, rubric. It can help you with grading. It can help you with providing feedback to students. When it comes to report cards, comments. You also have Brisk. Brisk also help us enhance classroom engagement and content curation. You have Diffit for teachers. You have Turnitin, Alina, Canva. Perfect example. That's what we are using right now to really be able to help us design educational materials. We're gonna take a couple of minutes to really, Miss Claire, let's say you can use two tools. Let's say ChatGPT. I don't know if you want to pull ChatGPT, maybe Brisk or Diffit.
Yes.
We will have an opportunity to dive in a little bit more with those different tools so we can show you how we are using those tools. Let's use ChatGPT to going back to the previous slides and look at the comments, right? When you are providing a vague prompt versus a detailed prompt. So Miss Claire, I'm gonna stop sharing, and if you're able to, pull ChatGPT. Let's see if I'm able to
share my screen.
Share your screen. So we're gonna show you the difference between a prompt that is vague and a prompt that is more specific and more clear and it has a lot of the context in it, because it's important that when we are using those tools, we are specific, as Miss Claire mentioned earlier. We are specific with the tools. And for those of you, if you do not have ChatGPT, again, it's very easy to get. Google ChatGPT or OpenAI, as Miss Claire is showing you, and you click on the link.
As we know, the internet, the world of the internet is not always on everybody's side, especially on our side sometimes these days. So if there's a bit of a delay,
Again, you can either create an account, and one thing that I like about when you are using ChatGPT, once you create an account, you sign in, right? Once you sign in, whatever information that you've typed in before, it saves it for you. You can go back to it.
yes, everything stays here. So again, another great advantage to it is it really is a smart tool. And I don't know how everybody, how long everyone has been using these generative AI tools, but those of us that grew up in, I would say, the 80s and the 90s, we had to always save everything, right? First, we had the floppy disk, then we had the CDs, then we had the USBs, then we were carrying around those bigger USB boxes. Now, an amazing thing about technology that I am truly like loving is that it saves your information for you. So here you can see it gives you different options. You don't necessarily have to purchase this, okay? ChatGPT is free. You do not have to create a plan. It will still generate information for you, and it will still save that information for you. You don't need to worry about, oh my God, before I close this application, let me quickly put in that jump drive and save the information. Don't worry about that. That is one less level of stress that you have. Okay, so now we're going to compare very quickly. If I give a very vague prompt as write an email to, so this is something that we've all been in a situation, right? Before grades are closing out, or we're noticing that a student is constantly not performing well, we have to contact parents, right? So the prompt that I put, my vague prompt, note that this is my vague prompt first. Write an email from a teacher to a parent about failing student. So as you can see here, it's very general in the information it's giving. There's nothing that's very super specific. Unfortunately, student's name, again, this is where it comes into play. Your student privacy, you do, or the, this is better for you to have in here. But again, looking at the vague responses, you get an email, but nothing very specific. We explore potential strategies. What strategies? It's not telling the parent anything that's very specific that you yourself as a teacher did, or that is specific to the student that is struggling within your class. Okay, strategies, resources.
Let me add something to that, Claire. And even sometimes, you know, as let's say elementary teacher, you teach multiple content areas, right?
Yep.
So now, if the student is doing well in math, but is not doing well in science, you send this type of email to the parent, they won't know. They won't know what area to really provide the guidance, you know, provide the support to the students. So it's important that when we are writing a prompt, we are specific and provide more context. And when we provide more context, the system will give us exactly what we are looking for.
So now I'm going to provide the prompt with more specific and clear instruction. So I'm still doing the same thing. It's still going to be from a teacher, but I'm going to say what type of teacher. From second grade teacher to parent concerning, sorry for the typo, student struggling with addition and subtraction.
And as Miss Claire was typing earlier, you know, when it comes to the spelling, I know some of us are not great spellers, but the AI tool will fix it. You know, ChatGPT will fix it for you.
Yes, if I didn't fix my V before, it would have still realized what I'm trying to say, and it would have still given me the same prompt. So now I'm saying what I'm teaching. I'm a math teacher teaching second grade, and the student is struggling with addition and subtraction. And I'm also asking it to provide some at-home activities. A little bit, okay, here we go. And now you will see it'll still be more descriptive now in what it was telling me. So hope this message finds you well. Right off the bat, I already see the number one thing. It gives you very specific strategies that you are giving to the parent. And it is very specific in what it's asking you as the teacher to do for your parent to provide more support at home. Okay, and you're giving multiple options as well. It's not just giving you one, it's giving you 5 different activities that can help support the child. Use playing cards to create fun math challenges, and they're very simple. They're not very complicated tasks. Like any parent can do this. You can just say, okay, let's do a game night, let's play cards. And then the fact that the student is just more in interaction with those numbers, adding the numbers, subtracting the numbers, they are playing the game, but they are using the same skills at school that they're now applying in real life. They're doing it socially at home, cooking together, right? Now, I will say from personal experiences, I've had a student that is completely a lot lower than the rest of the class in terms of fine motor skills when it comes to the art world. And I was implying all these different strategies in my classroom to provide the student with more help and more practice, but the improvement was not happening. So I had to go on here and send an email to the parent, and I used ChatGPT to exactly do what I just did there. Provide an email with more hands-on fine motor skills activity. And I was very specific to say in which grade level the student was. And I also described what their challenges was, right? Their challenges were they were not gripping the pencil or the paintbrush properly. So it provided activities at home that the parent can do that it didn't tell the student to go paint at home because they're already painting with me. It provided different activities that required for the student to still use hand-eye coordination so that way they can improve their pencil grip in class with me, but it had them measuring, do more interactive activities with your students at home, do the cooking, have them measure, use the eyedropper, things that I didn't think of off the top of my head, but Gen AI was able to really go into depth about those areas, I wouldn't say areas of weaknesses, but areas of growth that the student can really improve on with that generation. So again, let's take a quick look at this before we finish. Email number 1, right? Very vague. Yes, it did say that the student is struggling and despite our classroom efforts, but what are those specific efforts? It does not say anything that is very specific in relation to the student or in relation to what they should be learning and working on. So here it's their specific progress, right? And some of the challenges in these concepts of subtraction and addition. So here it's telling the parent very specific games that they can play, activities that they can do, whether it's writing journal, math journals, cooking together, store playing. These are all things that you can do at home and have the parents do where you have more specific measurable data. right? The parent will also see the child's improvement based off of how they started off playing and how doing those skills at home, those role play activities, definitely reinforces and helps those on school campus learning as well. And again, always creating and ending a beautiful email, continued partnership. It's always creating in a beautiful tone where it doesn't sound like you are forcing the parent to do any of this, right? Encouraging a more collaborative and I would say partnership tone of voice.
Okay. And one of the things that I want to also say is that we know sometimes the system will give you, let's say, strategies or ideas or activities that not really pertaining to your environment or your group or your school or the, especially the location of where you're located, because you have people who are in the suburb, you have people who are in the rural area. So think, as you are writing those prompts, think of your environment, think of the location that you are, and think of the type of parents that you have, and think of the students that you have. So by thinking of knowing your students and knowing your parents, you can really specify exactly the type of activities and that you want. It might be just they might only able to do the journal, right? The journals or the cooking together might be the only thing. They might not have a math game at home, right? So the fact that they might not have a math game at home, the journal and the cooking might be the easiest thing for them to do. So you can just basically review this and just copy and just use the number 2 and 3 and just leave the rest. So keep in mind, the tool is not giving you, okay, you know what, it gives you this, I'm just going to copy it and paste everything and then just use it like that. No, think of your environment, think of your students, and think of your parents, think of your community as you are creating these activities, because you know exactly what you need. So it's important, as we said earlier, to really review the information that the system is giving you. Okay, so don't just take it, the way that it is and just copy and paste and then just submit. No, be careful on how you're using it, and you have to be very sensitive to the students. Be very sensitive to the students and the community that you live in, because it's important that what we are giving to them is really pertaining to them.
Yes. And that in mind, yes, you are still the person in charge. Remember how we said at the beginning, it's like driving a car. It is a machine, but you are the one in control. You are not forced to use all of the information that it is giving you. You can copy only the parts that you feel that are pertinent, or maybe you want to add more and things that are a little bit more different. So another thing to keep in mind, aside from being very specific, if now I'm seeing, okay, this doesn't refer to or doesn't apply to that particular family, you can just have it say rewrite for a low income family with limited resources. It is still going to keep that first information that I am the second grade math teacher with a student that's struggling with math in addition and subtracting. Now look at here. It's giving me different activities. Okay, it's still very specific. We're still looking at here. Maybe they didn't have math game cards like Dr. Charleston was saying before, but now it's saying homemade flashcards. This also alleviates the pressure, I would say, for the parents receiving this email, right? You need to also be mindful of not just sending out the information, but how is this information going to be received? So keeping in mind all of that, you can always tweak the information, rewrite. You can say make it shorter or only provide 2. So all of that, it keeps the information you already gave. And what it really does, it just builds up and it builds onto what is already there. It's not like starting from scratch every time. The information is there and you have reference to it right over here on the left. The first one that I created is right there. So the more I create, the more that list is going to increase. The ChatGPT is going to save all of my previous prompts and I can always go back and refer to it. and reuse it again or modify it for another student with different areas of growth.
Exactly. Thank you, Miss Claire. Again, we will be doing a little bit more of this in the next webinar. So today we are able to, to go through chat quickly. However, again, there are so many other tools that we are going to see throughout this series. So it's important that you join us. So now, as you are using these tools, it's important to understand the best practices. As Claire mentioned earlier, there are certain things you have to keep in mind when you are using, again, the tools.
Yes. So we know that AI can be a very powerful tool for educators, but using it effectively requires thoughtful implementation. Right now, you're seeing a few different best practices that'll help teachers, administrators, as well as students benefit from the use of AI while maintaining an ethical and pedagogical sound approach. Okay, using AI to enhance, not to replace. Like I said, you are still the teacher. You are still the one in the classroom with your students. You know best based off of what you see and the performance of your students. So teaching prioritize student data privacy and ethical use, train the students and teachers on AI literacy. Okay, that is very important. Making sure that they know what each of the prompts are, what each of the different images represent, so that way they use them properly. Personalize learning with AI, streamline administrative tasks, promoting creativity and engagement. Use AI to support special education and multi-language learners. You'll see in the previous or the future session, sorry, that you can also use this generative AI to translate for you or to embed more of that ESL as English as a second language learners, especially for those of us that are bilingual, whether it be French or Spanish. AI is evolving and is able to really incorporate different languages within the information that it can provide you from your prompts. Encouraging AI-driven research and collaboration. Make sure that you set clear guidelines for the AI use in the classroom. Okay, be very specific on how your students can use this if you decide to allow them to use it within your classroom, and continuously evolving AI's impact on the learning. Now, you just saw, I did a quick demo here on being very specific. Some of the best practices is really comes with the keyword being there, practice. You might not do it right the first time, but it doesn't mean you're going to stop using it. Okay, it comes with practice. I cannot tell you how many times I've run to Miss Dr. Charleston and said, I don't know what just happened. I don't know what I just did. Look at this. I said this, but this is what he gave me. What's going on? It's like, no, let's take a look again. So make sure that you review. Okay, I would say the number one thing about best practice, using it to enhance. But in order for you to really use it as an enhancement tool, you need to know and remember that you are in charge. So you have to always review it before you just go out there and use it like that. Okay, and the more you use it, the better you're going to be able to use it effectively within your classroom, with your students, and within administration, with your colleagues, your admin, the board, as well as your parent communication.
We're so happy that you were able to join us this morning. So we are looking forward. As Claire showed you earlier, we just basically brush on the little demo with ChatGPT, and there are so many other tools that we've utilized to really help us in our educational journeys. So again, today was the first session. We are looking forward to see everyone on March 8th, where we're gonna be looking at on how to really boost our learning and student engagement and school operation when it comes to the AI. How can we utilize? So it's gonna be a more interactive, engaging. The next two sessions, It's more of the hands-on. We're going to be able to collaborate, to work together, to share ideas on how can we really utilize this tool to really enhance our teaching and learning. So keep in mind, AI is just a tool.
Yes.
It's an assistant. It's a tool that is designed to really support, not replace us as educators. We are still needed in the class. We are needed more than ever to really support our students. It has the potential to really enhance the teaching, to streamline tasks, and provide new opportunities and engagement for our students. However, we need to use it responsibly. Responsible use of AI is the key. Always verify information, maintain ethical practices, and ensure that AI tools align with your educational goals. Make sure the AI tools really align with your educational goals as you are moving. So for further learning resources, we will be placing today's webinar on the website, on our website, and also providing, different tools. We will be able to, share different tools with you later on as we move forward in this series, because it's important that you are well versed and keep abreast of what's happening with AI and different enhancement that's been taking place. And we want to say thank you for joining us, Miss Claire. Any final words?
I would just like to reiterate the gratefulness that I feel with collaborating with you, Dr. Charleston. Thank you again for the opportunity. This was my first webinar, and I'm excited for the ones yet to come. And I really would like to also say, all of you teachers out there that are questioning whether you should use it, or doubting the use of AI in your classroom, do not be afraid of it. Like Dr. Charleston said, it is a tool. Okay, just like our pen is a tool. The only person in charge here is still you. You have to use it. You are the one in charge. So as long as you know how to use it properly, effectively, and ethically, it can only get better from here on out.
That's right. Thank you so much, Miss Claire. It's a pleasure to be able to collaborate with you on these series on AI in education. If you want to keep in touch with us, again, Miss Claire, her email is posted, clairepun@gmail.com. You can also follow her on Instagram. And if you want to also keep up with me and see the different things that are happening, you can check my website on ascconsultingllc.com, email ascconsulting11@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram, and I'm also on TikTok at ascconsulting1. Thank you so much, and we are looking forward to see you on our next sessions.
Yes, come back. See you soon. And thank you again for joining us and staying tuned.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.